Hey guys, and welcome back to Nomifactory. Last episode we automated the production of circuit boards, luminescence, black bronze and black steel, and we unlocked the microverse projector to launch the tier 1 microminer. So the plan for today is to go for the tier 2. That is going to allow us to get radium salt, which can give us radon, and the radon can allow us to make the Inifinity booster card. I've been running about this base looking for terminals all day. It's about time for some wireless AE. I would also like to get started processing some tungsten, which we are going to need for tungsten steel and tungsten carbide needed for tier 3. Although to do that we need to make some EV components, the first of our EV components. And this is going to start with the production of Styrene Butadiene Rubber. We need this to be able to coat aluminium cable, which is used in the EV hulls and machine components. We are getting benzene and ethylene from the distillation tower doing steam cracked naphtha. And we need to react these to give us styrene. While I was setting this up, I realised that our oil distillation tower was a little bit slow, so we now got the double HV energy hatches on there, which effectively means this is now running at EV. I also spotted the fact that the oil rig had slowed, and that was due to the fact that we had run out of drilling fluid. So I added another mixer next to where we make lubricant and mixed that with some water and stone dust. And then I just added a fluid interface on the back of the oil rig, and that got that going again. So we then mixed the styrene with oxygen and butadiene, something else that we're getting from distillation. And this gives us the raw dust, which then we react with some sulfur or styrene butadiene rubber. This allows us to set up another HV assembler for SBR to coat all of our EV cables. And I also added 2 more for iron bars and buckets, 2 really obscure circuit numbers that needed their own assembler. But the SBR also allows coating of higher tier, so it will be useful later on as well. Alright, so we got our very first EV machine hull, which does take titanium instead of stainless steel. And due to the fact that we're going to need a lot of titanium moving forward, that means a lot of rutile. And you guys already know how slow this process is, right? So the biggest bottleneck is the ore washing plant. We're going to take this from MV up to HV. Although because previously this was on an LV line, we have to upgrade this to energetic alloy. And just for the time being, I'm going to stick 2 CEFs on here, just to get this powered, and I guess we'll hook this up over here somewhere. Yeah, so a very messy and temporary setup, but at least the ore washing plant is not going to be as much of a bottleneck, and we should be getting rutile out of this much faster. And we're going to slowly see our titanium creep up here as we go through this episode. We're going to need a lot of it for EV. Alright, so now let's prioritise the process of tungsten. It's a very slow process to get going, so we want to get this early. To do this we need at least an EV electrolyzer, which does take tier 4 circuits. But with the unlock of titanium, we can now make the second tier 4s. And it looks like we've got everything for this machine except for platinum ingots. We've got around 17 stacks of platinum dust from endstone centrifuging. Although, you know what, maybe it's time to look at a better way of smelting things, because right now we're using diamond furnaces. Yeah, you know what, I think now is as good a time as any to pick up the multi-smelter. Yeah, so this thing is basically the fastest furnace in modded. Right now we're going to run this at HV. We need a set of coils, and we have the spare set of Canthal, so we may as well use this. The coils in this though do affect the speed, so it's an option for us to upgrade in the future if we need to. But I have a feeling this is already going to start pretty fast. We'll place the output bus on the front, input bus on the back, interface on the input bus, and I think we can just conduit from the output bus. And plug it in. Alright, let's see how fast this thing smelts platinum. Oh my goodness, look at it. Oh, that is awesome. Obviously we're going to make a pattern for it, but yeah. All the patterns for this will definitely be multiples of 64. Where we can anyway. I think this thing does do parallel smelting. I'm not sure how much though there is. I think it's dependent on the coil tier. Let me know the specifics of the multi-smelter actually if you know. But yeah, we should be able to request a couple of tier 4s. Let's go for 4. Very good, very good. And this should mean we can pick up the EV electrolyzer. So what we want to be doing here is processing all of the tungstate, which we also get from endstone centrifuging. We get it through the microminers as well, but that comes as ore, and that takes a little bit longer to process. Either way, it does have to be sent 7 at a time through this electrolyzer, along with some hydrogen, which I'm hoping we should have in excess. So we got the tungstate on a storage bus drawer. We can just add it to some filters in the machines here, and request it in the interface. Very standard setup as always for these things. And this should start electrolyzing. Oh, but we are out of power here. Yeah, I guess we're running this distillation tower at EV, as well as this EV machine all on an HV line. so we'll definitely need some more CEFs down this end. Let's go for 3 more, I think, just to give us some headroom. The Nomifactory power system is so powerful. I love it. I love the fact that you can just do this forever, basically. At least until the game says no more. So yeah, we get 3 things out of this. We get oxygen, which we're going to store in a quantum tank up here. We also get our tungsten, and we get lithium as well. Both of which are just going to go to their own drawer. Although, you know what, I didn't leave much space for the storage bus. Maybe we should switch these. Yeah, drawer controller in the middle, and we can extract via the item conduit. Yeah, let's void the excess lithium, and we'll just max storage upgrade the rest. So now that we are getting tungsten, we have to send this through a blast furnace, unsurprisingly. At least nichrome coils, and at least HV. Yeah, so this is the reason we left all the space here. This is going to happen a lot, actually. We're going to be adding lots and lots of blast furnaces over the next few episodes. Level emitter will be set quite high for this, although does tungsten steel require the tungsten dust, or is it the ingots that we need? Ah, right, it's alloyed straight from the ingots inside the blast furnace. It's not mixed externally, so we don't have to keep any tungsten dust. We can just smelt it all as tungsten. And we'll deal with the tungsten steel and carbide later on. First 2 have smelted for the quest. Alright, well, at least this process is going. This electrolyzer is very, very slow. Something we'll definitely want to upgrade. However, let's turn our attention back to the tier 2 micro miner here. As always, things don't go quite as smoothly as you first anticipate. So before we get to the tier 2 here, these things had maxed out. We had 8 before. So with the upgrades here, this takes us down to around 3,100 RF per tick each, up to a maximum of 6,250. So we have some headroom to work with now. It's just a question of if we're producing enough diamonds, as that is what it takes to actually power these things. I think we're going to be okay. I shuffled around some of the simulation chambers to make sure that we're running 7 shulkers, which is what we need to support 16 of these numismatic dynamos, at least with the configuration that we have them here. But yeah, the recipe for the tier 2 does require the first extended crafting table, the 5x5, and I've been very busy putting in recipes for all this stuff. There really isn't too much extra infrastructure that you require for this, except for the titanium heavy plates, which require an HV compressor, and also this microminer engine, which does require HV alloy smelters. Our alloy smelters are only MV. We're missing Canthal. I guess that's the reason I didn't skip straight to the HV in the first place. Yeah, and I suspect we don't have Canthal because we don't have chrome. Oh man, we have a tiny amount of ruby gems. I guess we pulverize and electrolyze these. Oh yeah, we're only 13 Canthal short and we get 3 per craft, so we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. So other than that, I think we can just add a recipe for this thing. And obviously it is a 5x5 crafting table. And the recipe is gonna look something like this. We just have to be careful to manually insert all the correct amounts here. And we are just going to place this in an interface next to a crate. That should put the ingredients in the crate, and then we can just manually craft using this crafting table for now. I don't think we can make the extended pattern terminal yet, since this needs a recipe encoder. Yeah, for the recipe package holders, we need the tier 3 elite crafting for this. Alright, we got the alloy smelters. This is on an HV line, so I think this also means that we'll have to add another CEF. Maybe 2 CEFs? We'll see. Yeah, add the robot arms back. And we should be able to make our microminer. Obviously, we didn't need to upgrade all of these things, but I mean, we might as well, right? It's going to improve the speed of all these recipes as well. Our very first tier 2 microminer. And the quest. Awesome. Oh, actually, there is one problem with this mission. The tier 2 requires an EV microverse projector. Maybe we move the fluid input hatch to here, because these 2 slots here have hatches on them already. Yeah, we'll move the fluid to the middle, and that way we can double up the energy hatches on the back. I didn't waste the rocket fuel. I did grab it before breaking the hatch. And we'll also have to add the same logic here, add in another export bus, a new piece of paper to request a microminer, and a new level emitter. This one we are going to call Microminer Tier 2, and this is the ores mission. Redstone's going to look something like this. This does get a little bit bulky, but I think it's the best way to go about doing these microminer missions. Alright, last thing I think is just to encode the recipe. This takes, I think, 12 buckets of rocket fuel up from 8. But since we have everything pre-crafted, we should be able to send our microminer mission. Awesome, look at this thing. Oh, you know what? I didn't check if the output bus is big enough. It should be though, right? We have HV on here. Yeah, not all of the slots were filled up there. It was pretty quick, but... Alright, so with a successful first mission, that means we now have some radium salt. This requires an EV electrolyzer at least, and we get a full bucket of radon plus some rock salt. We'll be setting up some dedicated production for radon, as we need that for some of the higher tier, I think, IV materials. Although for now, I'm just going to borrow this electrolyzer. Oh my goodness, this is slow. That gives us our bucket of radon. And with this, we need at least an HV chemical bath to make the quantum eye, which means we can make our booster cards. And it's only 500 per, right? Yeah, so we only need one bucket. HV chemical bath is going to go here. Radon plus Eyes of Ender. This takes the tier 4 circuits that we made at the beginning of the episode, along with the aluminium cable, which we needed the Styrene Butadiene Rubber for. Everything is coming together here. It's always nice when this happens. And after a bit more recipe encoding, I think we can craft our wireless crafting terminal. We'll go straight to the crafting terminal. Infinity booster card. And if I remember correctly, we do need at least one access point, so that we can put the infinity booster inside the crafting terminal. Yeah, the booster card goes inside, I think it's this slot. Well, it ain't coming out now, so I guess I guess that's right, and we don't need this anymore. I dropped the security terminal over here, which just has to be on the same network. And now we have AE Anywhere. This is another one of those quality of life things that's going to speed things up dramatically. No more flying back and forward to terminals. Or moving them like I have been doing over here. This thing can go. In fact, I think it even works as a bobble slot, right? Yeah, and we can keybind this thing. Always bound to C. Let me know your guys' keybinds. Crafting terminal on C. That just makes a lot of sense. Okay, so for us to proper... Oh, wait, I just noticed I have something in my head. What is that? Is that the crafting terminal? For us to actually be able to say that we're an EV, we need to have the ability to make EV motors and all of the rest of the components that follow, such as the pistons and the robot arms and the conveyors. And we have everything here. We have annealed copper on passive, we have aluminium cable, we can make titanium rods, we cannot make neodymium though. However, with some infrastructure upgrades and the addition of this 4th blast furnace here, we should now be able to passively create neodymium. Almost. You'll see what I mean in a second. We just need to add a filter into this one. Oh, wait a second, this is supposed to turn on. Hold on. Oh, I guess I never plugged it in again. Okay, well, I guess while we're waiting on the cable crafting, I should explain these other ones here that we've added. So we had already the tungsten and the black steel. We added tungsten carbide and tungsten steel. Tungsten carbide is just added carbon and tungsten steel is just added steel. So yeah, both of these use the tungsten, which is why we have this extra level limiter down here and 2 extra machine controllers. These are both set on normal. In fact, all of them on these 2 blast furnaces are set on normal mode. The top level limiter here caps off the tungsten steel at 4000 as just a hard cap, and this one will only let them run if we have over 512 tungsten. This addition here is for red alloy. So red alloy you can actually make in the alloy smelter, which used to be the only way to do it, with 2 redstone and 1 copper for 1 red alloy. However, in the blast furnace, you can do it 1 copper, 1 redstone and 2 red alloy. So it's a bit more efficient to do it this way. And then obviously this last one here is going to be neodymium, which we need to plug in. That should get it going. Aha, nice. Yeah, so as for how we're getting the input items for this, the neodymium dust, it just takes neodymium dust to smelt. Let's put what we have in here already. I did increase ore processing once again, and I upgraded this macerator to HV so that we could get the chance outputs. And I also bought some bastnasite ore, which looks like it's just finished processing through the initial stage here. So bastnasite, when you ore wash, can give you 3 tiny piles of neodymium. And with the setup we have here, all the tiny piles and extra stuff that doesn't go to the next step should end up in these crates. And I've added in this item conduit to take it all the way to this steel chest. And that separates all the tiny piles into the packagers, and then all of the output ends up here. Oh my goodness, that is a lot of rutile. That is a lot of titanium. I think it's 3-to-1 though for titanium, so it's not like as much as it looks. So yeah, we can get neodymium that way through bastnasite, and we can also get it from rare earth. We can centrifuge rare earth for a 25% chance at neodymium, a small pile of neodymium, among other things such as yttrium, which we'll need later on. I also checked here, there is no redstone centrifuge step to get the rare earth. That is another word I can't say. We're going to call it RE. I'm going to call it RE from now on. Yeah, there's no way to get it from redstone directly other than from chance outputs, which is why I had to upgrade this macerator. You only get the chance outputs at HV+. Oh yeah, and one more thing, I did upgrade the electrolyzers. I doubled them up to make tungsten, especially since we now have the added strain of tungsten steel and tungsten carbide. But the majority of the neodymium that we just put in there, I actually got from mining, so you can mine this in a bastnasite vein. However, now that we have neodymium, I think that we can encode all of the EV components, starting with this motor, which also takes 8x annealed copper cable. We have the level emitter for annealed copper set at 800 right now. I think it's this one here, right? Let's maybe bump this up to like 2000. Yeah, sure. And we can of course also encode the recipe for magnetic neodymium rods, and the rod recipe in the lathe. We are out of pattern slots on the lathe though, but there is the pattern expansion cards in this as well. I absolutely adore these things. You can increase the number of patterns in the one interface. We need titanium rods as well. I think this is the first time we're using these. And that should allow us to request the first motor at EV. After that, I think it's quite easy. Besides the circuits, this is small titanium gears. We should be able to manage all of this. How's our titanium looking? We're at 185, which is not as much as I would have hoped, but I think enough for today at least. So with all of these new resources, I think we should try to aim for the EV assembly machine. This will unlock the cheapest tier 3 circuits, and also allow us to create tier 5s. Or wait, no, we need the tier 5s to make the EV assembly machine, that's right. But as these are the mainframes, we want to make as few of these as possible, as this is the most expensive version of the circuit. The further to the right you go, the higher tier of circuit, and the further down you go, the cheaper the tier of circuit. And we are technically like halfway through the circuit progression already. Although I don't think we're quite halfway through the pack, there's still a lot, a lot ahead of us. Our first tier 5 circuit. Waiting on one more, and I think we can request the assembly machine. Oh yeah, this is a pretty sizable craft here. Awesome, so since we don't have the EV line yet, we're going to stick it right here. It should be able to get enough power, especially since it's not passive. We'll give it a named interface. Allow input from output side, which apparently you can shift click now. Nice. And we also need the tin fluid in here to craft circuits. Pump on the side for inserts. Yeah, so I think we can move all of our circuit recipes into there. Yeah, all of these patterns can be moved over. This should make it a lot faster to craft circuits on demand. And as I previously mentioned, this also unlocks the 4th and final tier 3s, which we need nano CPUs for. So the nano CPUs we will be setting up later on as a passive system, but there are 2 reasons why we're just going to do this on demand right now. So the first is that we don't have regular CPU wafers automated. Right now we are only using this MV laser engraver, and I've just been manually creating these things. Maybe we should get some more going actually. Let's get another 3 stacks of these. We need the glass lens, I think. Yeah, we also don't have automated silicon wafers. And we actually removed it last episode. It was in one of these blast furnaces, but I want to wait until we get glowstone doped wafers, which is actually going to be relatively soon here. We get it over here, but we do need to do cryogenic air distillation, I believe, which is at EV tier. So I think that's something we'll dive into next episode. But yeah, to make our nano CPUs, we have to combine CPU wafers, the uncut versions, plus some raw carbon fibers and molten glowstone. We are going to manually input this. In fact, I've got a little 1x2 drawer that we can input. So the raw carbon fibers we're making over here as part of circuit boards. There's our first nano CPU wafer. We can lock this to the drawer. And we'll put a storage bus on this. Again, this setup is just temporary for now. We can then set up a cut and saw recipe for the wafer to cut it into the CPU. That will go in the array. We get our quest. And this unlocks the final tier 3s, the nano circuits. Oh no, these take the green... Oh no. Oh, these take the green boards. I know we don't have any green boards. Aha, and the reason for that is we're out of fiber reinforced, and the reason for that is we are out of epoxy. And I think we're out of epoxy because we're out of chlorine. If I was to guess... Actually, it's not. The issue here is ethylene. I'll have to look into that actually between episodes. Actually, you know what? Let's fix it now. Let's see if we can upgrade some of these breweries. I'm going to switch all of these to MV, which means we need to swap out this LV cable. So we use the breweries to make biomass to make ethanol, And then ethanol sulfuric acid makes ethylene, so I'm hoping if we upgrade some of these machines that it's going to alleviate some of the bottleneck. Eventually buffers are going to fill and we're going to start to buffer ethylene, but we kind of need it now. Let's see if this fixes it. If not, then it's going to be another distillation tower, I think. Okay, this chemical reactor has received an upgrade as well. Things are definitely faster. Fast enough though, I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how things go. Oh wait a second, we're making green boards. This is a green board, right? Anyways guys, I think this is a good point to wrap up this episode. I think next time we'll be looking at some more DML upgrades and moving into EV as well. But yeah, with that, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all soon for some more Nomifactory.